I could barely wait for the school day to be over. Every class seemed to drag on, and we even had a pop quiz in math. After what seemed like forever, the final bell rang and I met Vanessa on the front steps of the school along with Anna. "Are you two ready?" Vanessa asked with a smile. "It's kind of a long walk." "We'll be fine," I replied. My fingers itched to map the destination on my phone, but I'd left it back at home. There didn't seem to be service anywhere near the school, and it just drained my battery. I could only hope we would get a ride from her place back home. I wasn't very good with directions or getting to places on my own, and I didn't know how we'd get back to my place. Grandma Jeannie lived far away from the main town. I tried to get more information about what we were doing when Vanessa and I chatted at lunch, but she only wanted to talk about me, like always. She'd asked me all about Chicago and my friends there and what I like to do in my free time. Probably just because she wanted to know what she should plan for tonight. It's not like the town provided many options. Even though I was excited to be heading to Vanessa's house, I still felt a little nervous. It was silly, but I swore that kids were watching us walk away together like they were scared. Not of me or Vanessa, but for me. There'd been another note in my locker. "Vanessa is dangerous." It had been in a different handwriting, and the kid who'd written it clearly didn't know how to spell. All it meant was that a group of mean kids were trying to scare me away from my only friend. Well, Vanessa was being nice to me, and everyone else in the school acted like I had a foot growing out of my head, so I didn't care what they thought. Vanessa took Anna's hand and started skipping down the road. I felt silly for a moment, but then I jogged up to them and skipped alongside. Within a few seconds, I was laughing, the school and its mean kids forgotten. The trees rose up around us, smelling fresh and green. The sun was warm and the breeze was sweet. We skipped along the main road for a bit and then took a path off the sidewalk that cut through the woods. Anna's hand immediately tightened in mine. "What is it?" Vanessa asked. She slowed down and looked at Anna. I didn't expect my sister to tell the truth. She did. "I'm scared of the woods." Then she looked at me. "We both are. Grandma Jeannie says we're not supposed to go in there." I felt my cheeks blush hot. "It's okay," Vanessa said. She gave Anna a big smile. "The woods are only scary because they're new to you. I know where we're going. You're completely safe with me around." Then she winked at me, and I felt my blush go even deeper. I didn't want her thinking I was scared of the woods too. I was, though. We continued on. It was probably just my imagination that made the light get heavier and the noises quieter, but after a while it felt like we were somewhere entirely different. I couldn't explain it. The trees were the same, and it wasn't like it was suddenly midnight. It just felt like we were in a different forest in a different time. A time when fairy tales were real and big bad wolves roamed the woods. I could understand why Grandma thought this place was dangerous. We'd stopped skipping a while ago. I still held Anna's hand. Vanessa walked in front of us, her feet dancing lightly on the path as she led us deeper and deeper. "How are we going to get home?" Anna whispered. Her voice was so quiet I barely heard her. "Don't worry," Vanessa said, somehow hearing Anna. She looked back. I hoped it was my imagination, because in here, even her face and smile looked different, sinister. It must have been the light. "I'll walk you both home. My aunt can't drive right now, so I'll walk you back." More goosebumps. I didn't want to walk through the woods later, but I didn't think we really had a choice. Either we kept going or I made a fool of myself and lost the only friend I'd made. "Thanks," I said. I tried to be cheery. It was probably too much. "That would be great." Vanessa just smiled again and led us farther into the woods. I tried not to look through the trees. I tried not to imagine what or where Beryl was, prowling about like a wolf on the hunt. At least I hadn't had any more nightmares. Last night, I dreamed I was at a pizza eating contest with my friends. Not scary at all. Finally, when my feet were hurting and it felt like we'd been walking for hours, the small path opened up into a gravel road. "Just a little farther," Vanessa said. Seeing the road made me feel a bit better. At least there was a way for cars to get here, particularly police cars and ambulances. We rounded the corner and saw her house. I stopped, dead in my tracks. It was the house from my nightmare. Vanessa walked a few more steps before realizing that Anna and I had stopped. "What's wrong?" she asked. What wasn't wrong? There were broken bird baths and mannequins in the front yard, surrounded by a fence that was mostly moss and collapsed wood. The roof was covered in mossy shingles. A tiny tree grew up from the gutter. About the only thing that made the house look lived in were the intact windows and the light glowing from inside. "Nothing's wrong," I said, way too late for it to be convincing. Concern crossed Vanessa's face. When I realized why, I felt terrible. "I know," she said. "It's not really nice to look at. My aunt hasn't been able to work because of her knee, and my uncle died a few years ago. I'm really the only one keeping the house running." She bit her lip and looked sad, kicked a rock at her feet. "I completely understand if you don't want to hang out here. I can walk you home now." Her voice wavered a bit. I wondered how many potential friends she'd taken here only to get rejected. Maybe that's why kids told me to stay away from her. They probably thought she was a bad person because she lived in a house like this. I wasn't about to let their meanness get in the way, nor was I going to let Vanessa feel bad about her house. That wasn't what was important. What was important was that I'd seen it in my nightmare, but there was no way I'd be able to explain that. She'd think I was crazy. "No, please," I said. "I don't want to go home yet. Well, it's very unique." I was surprised. Vanessa perked up a little bit, but there were still tears in the corner of her eyes. "That's a good word for it. I'll be the first to admit the place is a bit weird, especially on the inside. My aunt is quite a collector." This was the last possible point that Anna and I could have turned back. But when Vanessa said, "Come on," we went.
Please like the video and share it with your friends. Don't forget to subscribe and click the bell icon.